Very base Halacha Yud Aleph in Hilchos Chametz U'Matzah. Isha shehi beis balo. A woman who's in her house of her husband, shochat aleo avio, shochat aleo balo, and her husband slaughtered her father slaughtered for her, and her husband slaughtered for her as well. Teichel mishel balo. She has to eat from her husband's korban pesach. We go down to the Peirush, and that's where they both counted her. If she was a type of woman who wanted to go to her father's house, which is the customary among by the first festival, the first Pesach after marriage, is kederech kol habonos, which is most daughters are that way. They want to show their father what a wonderful catch they got in their husband. And her father slaughtered for her. Her husband slaughtered for her. Then the first year she eats from her father's. Afterwards, she should slaughter. She should eat from there where she wants to. And that's when he chooses a place that she should want to be at the time of, she has to make the decision at the time of shchita. As the Mishnah cites the Mishnah in Psochim 87a, that when a woman is in her husband's house, then it says over there, except for the first festival, she eats from her husband. Otherwise, the first festival from her father. So the more questions this. It says the first festival a woman eats from her father. After that, she eats from her father or from her husband. So, and it says that the first festival she can eat from whoever she desires, and the rest from her husband. So the Gemara says it depends on what kind of a daughter she is. Some daughters must go to their father, and therefore the first festivals without question the fathers. But other daughters are willing to eat from their husbands, and therefore the first year we're in doubt, and that's what it depends on. So there's a mission of questions. Why does the Rambam talk only about a situation where she definitely wants to go to her father's house, and not mention in the Mishnah that the Rambam where she would take her choice in the first year? So the answer is because the Rambam is of the opinion that the majority of daughters want to eat by their father the first festival. And therefore he adds the words kederech habonos. And that's why he mentions only the case of the one who is redufa. Now, you can furthermore say that you can learn that a daughter who wants to be by her father the first year, from that we see that if she's not that interested, that she has a choice. And Lechem Mishnah questions in the beginning of the Halacha, the Rambam says, her father slaughtered for her, and her husband slaughtered for her. She should eat from the husband. We're talking about where she doesn't want to go necessarily to the father, because where she wants to go to her father, only the first regular can she choose to go to her father. And how does the Kesef Mishnah say the Rambam is not mentioning the rule of the young lady who is not that set on going to her father? So the Mishnah answers that the Rambam will explain the Gemara Lekasha Kamba Radufa, but the Gemara answers that she wants to go like Tosfos in this first answer, that what it says in the Mishnah Holcha, that she went the first year to her father's house, and her father slaughtered for her and her husband slaughtered for her, there she chooses. He's talking where she's not, obviously not someone wants to be by her father's house specifically, because otherwise there wouldn't be a question. And the regular Rishon, when she goes to her father's house, is talking about right after the marriage. Meaning, the first, right after her marriage, she was by her husband's house. In the second year, she's by her father's, and therefore she's already no longer strongly attached to her father's house. Therefore, it's called Rishon Lahalichoso. The first time she leaves for her father's house, even though it should say the first time after her marriage, because we're talking about where she already has spent 1 year by her husband. The Lecha Mishnah continues, we can learn from the Rambam simply the way they are, that a woman, when she's in her husband's house, and her father slaughtered for her, and her husband slaughtered for her at Korban Pesach, even if it's the first festival right after the marriage, she eats from her husband's, since she always eats in her husband's house from her husband. But if she wants to go to her father's house on the first year after her marriage, which is the customary among most daughters, then she should eat from her father's, since she's in her father's house. But after the festival, even if she's found in her father's house, she can choose from where she wants to eat afterwards, because a wife can always choose where she wants to eat the Korban Pesach. The Marie Kork is of the opinion, if she went to her father's house, she eats from her father's, because that's the greatest proof that she wants to be like her father. Redufa is the greatest proof that she wants to eat from her father. When Rambam writes that she wanted to go to her father's house, is talking about the first year. Even though she's in her husband's house in the first year, and they live next door, father and the husband, still she eats from the father, because she showed by going to the father's house that she wants to be with her father. But if she was not that urgent about it, she eats from her husband's, even the first regal, certainly in other regolim. Now the Rambam says she has to choose afterwards a place where she wants to eat at the time of the shchita. I guess the Mishnah says that if she went the first festival in her father's house, and both her father and her husband slaughtered for her Korban Pesach, there she can choose. So there are more questions. So you see, she can choose after the fact. It would seem after the fact as opposed to before the fact, meaning Yesh Breira. And the Gemara says, La Halacha, Shebederaisa, you say Ein Breira. In Deraisa, you say Ein Breira. And the Korban Pesach is in Deraisa, so how can she make a decision afterwards? So the answer is that they asked her before, or exactly at the time of Shechita, which Korban would you like to be with? So the Sfas Emes says, if in actuality she didn't choose at the time of the Shechita, she would eat from the one that slaughtered for her first, because that was done already. You can't be on two Korban Pesachs. Well, or an orphan that his executors slaughtered for him, 2 executors, and he could go to either one. He can eat from where he wants to. Now that we're going to the page. When it is said, when he's a small, he's an orphan, a minor. If he wasn't counted, it's like he's counted on 2 pesochim. And then he has to eat from the one that's slaughtered first, just like the Sfas Emes said regarding the husband and father, that the first one that's slaughtered. Because the Mishnah cites the Mishnah. Mikurkis cites from the Gemara on 88a. The Gemara questions, so we see Yesh Breira, since the husband, she can make a condition, the Yosin can decide where he wants to eat, and we see to begin with where he wanted to eat. In Midrash we say Ein Breira. The Gemara says Sel Abayis. It means there's a special rule by minors. Rashi explains to tell us that Balabayas can slaughter on everybody without their knowledge, and therefore you don't have to come to Breira, because at the moment that he wants to, he has to go with the household that where he is, and therefore whichever executor he's eating by, he would eat from that Korban Pesach. Therefore, he passes Halacha Ches, that a person can shech the Pesach on his son and his daughter or minors without their knowledge, because it's a special rule by minors. This is what Abzeo says, that each of the apotropsim has the right to shech for him, and he's considered part of their household. It's a different din, it's a different law than the ones who are appointed on the Korban Pesach. Toys explain that the Gemara is talking about Sel Abayis. It's not a din in Torah. It's min harabonon, as chinuch. Min Torah, you don't have to give the cotton anything at all. And mitam chinuch, they don't have to be counted in the korban. Therefore, they can eat from wherever they want. And this is the shitas of Abzer and the Gemara. So his questions, since they're not numbered on the korban, how can they eat from it? Pesach can only be eaten for those who are numbered on it. You can't give a cotton something that's forbidden to eat. The answer, the forbiddenness to give a cotton something that's also, is only when all of Klal Yisrael can't eat it, like ants and jukim. But Korban Pesach, that has a din of chinuch, you can give to a cotton. The Rae Gann explained the answer is a different answer. That in Torah, it's forbidden to eat in Pesach only those who are numbered on it. We're talking about on those who are correctly to be counted. But cotton, who can't be counted anyway, the Torah didn't say you can't eat from it. And this is what the Hilchos Chametz writes, that the Rambam is of the opinion, like Rav Zero, that putting a cotton on a Pesach is not the rice, it's midrabanan. He questions from what the Rambam codifies the halacha, that it became a godel, the cotton became a godel between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni, and when he slaughtered for him on the first Pesach, even though he was a cotton, he was slaughtered from Pesach Sheni. So the Kesef Mishnah says that if he didn't, I guess he didn't bring in the first Pesach, so the cotton is in Bar Chiyuv in the first one. Even if he ate from it, what does it help that they slaughtered for him? The Korban Pesach of the first one, he's not obligated to bring. And how could the Pesach Rishon nullify his obligation to bring a Pesach Sheni? And the answer is in the name of Rimah Kukis. Said since that now Pesach Selabai is a Torah added a minor, therefore you can slaughter for a cotton on the first one. And that fulfills his obligation, even though he's a cotton. But I will say the Rambam is of the opinion that he's not counted on the korban. So the question is, why when he becomes an adult, he's potter from bringing a korban sheni. On the Rambam's statement, Yosem Godel, if he's an adult, or was an orphan, meaning more than 13, if he wasn't counted on a certain Pesach, they both apotropos and slaughtered for him, then he has to be on the first one. So the Kesef Mishnah cites Yerushalmi. A Yosem cotton, that they slaughtered for him the apotropos, he can eat from where he wants to, but by an adult, he becomes like he established himself on two Korban Pesachs, and Abchia says he eats from whichever one was slaughtered first. The Hilchos Chametz questions the din of Godel, which is counted on two psochim, is contradicted. We pass in the Bavli, Per Gimel, that somebody says to an Eved, slaughter for me my Korban Pesach, and he wasn't sure whether he should slaughter a goat or a sheep, and he slaughtered both. You can't eat either. They both go to Beis HaSreifo, because you can't be counted on two psochim. And there he doesn't say, wait a second, leave him eat from the first one that's slaughtered. How here in the Bavli it seems to be saying that you cannot be on either one, and the Yerushalmi says you could be. Hilchos Olam explains, like the Marsha on Tosfos, by a king and a queen who again, there's servants slaughtered two pesachim. One was a sheep and one was a goat, and they don't care what they eat. Therefore, they can eat from the first one. So the Marsha says, what it says that they were counted on two pesachim, that they both go out of the Beis HaSreifo, because there's no din of breira. Meaning that when a person who is specific about what he wants to eat, but when he's not specific about what he wants to eat, you don't have a din of breira. Therefore, you can eat from the first one, like by Yosem Godel. Therefore, it has nothing to do with the Bavli and Yerushalmi. Yerushalmi is talking about an adult Yosem, that he'll eat from whichever one's the first going to be slaughtered for him, because the adult Yosem doesn't care which one he'll eat by. Like the Bavli says, that you should, and if he's actually counted on two psochim, they have to be burnt is talking about who's a person who says, I'm very makbid about whether I eat a sheep or a goat. And we don't know at the time of the shchita which one he's going to eat. So then we have a din of breira. Therefore, they both have to go out to Beis HaSreifa. And he can't eat from either one. The Achsam Zoiva says that by Yosin Godel we're talking about the two apotropos slaughtered a gedi or both a tle, either a goat or both a sheep. And therefore he doesn't care. But if one of them slaughtered one type of an animal, the other one the other, here Yosin Godel will have his din like everybody else. That b'diraisa and breira, and it goes out to Beis HaSreifa. Rab Chaim Abulafia explains that the Rambam is not contradicting himself, because when by an orphan we're talking about that one apotropos was going to slaughter for him, and he's already counted on it, and therefore when the second one said he was going to slaughter for him, it doesn't mean anything, because he didn't count himself on the second one. But B'Korban Pesach Peragimel is talking when the master doesn't know what the Eved is going to do. Therefore, that they both slaughtered for him, so he's counted on two. Therefore, the din is that they should both be burned, because at the time of Shechita they were not Roy La'achilo, and if they weren't Roy La'achilo, he didn't fulfill his obligation of Korban Pesach, and therefore, because the Korban Pesach is to be eaten, and therefore they go to Beis HaSreifa.